In Cicero, Al Capone was the undisputed boss of bosses. No one dared oppose him, except one man who dared to be a thorn in his side. He was a newspaper editor, actually the youngest in the country at the time, just 21 years old, and he waged an unrelenting war of words against Al Capone and the corrupt Cicero city government. That newspaper editor is now the distinguished author and journalist, Robert St. John. Welcome. You exposed one of Capone's brothels in a quite unique way.
That was where all my trouble began. One evening I armed myself with a pocket full of $5 and $10 bills. I knew the fee was $5, but I was going to use the $10 for a different purpose. When I got upstairs, I gave the girl the $5 bill, which was always paid in advance. And then I said, now, sister, we're going to have a little talk. Here's $10 extra for just talking. Anyway, all night long, I was passed along from one girl to another. When my $10 bills were all gone, one of the girls came rushing in and said, my God, Ralph is at the bottom of the staircase.
Ralph Capone.
Ralph Capone.
Al's brother.
Al's brother.
His enforcer.
One of the girls showed me how going through a toilet I could jump out the window onto a lean-to and get away, which I did.
To tell us more about his Cicero adventures, Robert St. John returned to his old neighborhood after an absence of more than half a century.
One morning, as I was on my way to my office in Cicero, I'd just come from my home in Oak Park. There was one cop standing on this corner right here. Then there was another Cicero policeman on that corner over there. My office was where that vacant lot is. As I started to cross the street like this, I got right to the center here, right to the middle, when I heard the screech of brakes. And I looked up, and in that direction was a black, 7-passenger black touring car. This is the type of car that both the private detectives, the plainclothes detectives, and the gangsters used. I knew it was one of the two. When I saw 4 guys pile out, I knew which it was because I recognized the first man that came out as Ralph Capone. So I knew I was in for it. So I immediately curled up right here in the middle of this intersection, right on the ground with my head buried because I didn't want to get it in the head. As I lay there in the middle of the intersection with the cops on the 2 corners, they worked over me with blackjacks.
Didn't you say there were 2 policemen on either corner?
2 policemen on either corner, and neither of them lifted a finger to stop what had happened or to chase the gang.
I guess that's more symptomatic than anything of what Cicero was really like.
That is absolutely correct. That was Cicero. As soon as I got out of the hospital, I came right here to the Cicero Police Department. Chief of Police was Ted Svoboda, a good friend of mine. I said, Ted, I want 4 warrants. Charging assault with intent to kill, assault and battery, kidnapping, and so forth. I want warrants for Ralph Capone, Pete Pizak, and 2 John Doe warrants. He put his arm around my shoulder and said, kid, you're too young to die. Forget it. I said, no, Ted, I want those warrants. He said, come back at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. At 9 o'clock the next morning, I came back. He said, go up to my office up on the 2nd floor. He said, I'll be right up. I went upstairs. I was looking out the window when I heard the door close. I turned around, and there stood a man, big, stocky fellow, with a scar on the left side of his face. Of course, I knew who it was. He came toward me, held out his hand. I did not take it. He said, I'm sorry, kid. I'm sorry it happened. The boys were drunk. They know better than that. Well, he pulled out of his pocket a biggest roll of bills I've ever seen. They weren't 5s and 10s like mine. They were hundreds. And he started peeling them off. He said, you lost your hat. Your hospital bill is paid. And he's peeling off these $100 bills.
You take the money?
There were times later that I almost wished I had. I've had rough times in my life.
So 60 years, 6 decades later, how does it feel being back in Cicero?
Well, actually, I don't want to be sacrilegious, but it is a sort of a reincarnation, rebirth. I suddenly feel, instead of 85, I feel 25 again, which was what I was when I was last in this town. As you know, the Capones are all buried deep in the ground, but St. John, who lost his first big war against the gangsters of Cicero, St. John is still alive and doing well.
I'll say. Thank you very much.